You're listening to Sharky on Sharkgoeschomp. Tonight's story is a continuation from our last one, entitled, He Remembered Me, Then Wanted His Revenge, But Not Alone. Submitted by Soraventus. This is a continuance or part 2 of another story that I posted not so long ago. Link to the first story here. I highly recommend reading this first before reading this story, so you won't be confused. There's no way I can really jump the story off, so I'll just start this by saying it was a year or maybe shorter later. Parents, both still addicts, specifically my father, is shutting me out of his life rapidly, causing my underdeveloped brain to become depressive. He was the only one I had growing up, the only one I thought would protect and love me forever. I was so close to him, and for him to shut me out like this caused me to go against him. In hysterics, I called my mom, and she came and picked me up from our home. I was still in school around this time, but my mom made up some bullshit lie that I had licensed to my principal, and I ended up getting 2 weeks off of school. Embarrassing that she chose that to lie about, but I went with it. My dad didn't care. Nobody cared that I was away from him. Nobody even noticed on my father's side of the family that I was gone or out of school. I felt so alone, but at least over my brothers, I had, as you all know, my siblings. Seeing them made me happy, made me forget about everything that was bothering me. They were my security blanket. My mom had a new place around this time. She was always drastically moving. She lived in a tiny apartment now, living room, small kitchen, 2 small bedrooms and the bathroom, all necessities of apartment clearly. I arrived to her apartment, noticing only my half-brother M and my little half-sister was staying, along with my mom's at the time boyfriend. I asked what happened to my oldest half-brother. He was now living with his father, probably had something to do with social services. Not surprising. My eldest half-brother always hated living with our mother. He always liked being with his father more. I wasn't fazed too much, as long as he was away from here and happy. I didn't have a problem. Even though his father was a raging schizophrenic, he was nice to him. M, on the other hand, had the bad end of the stick with their father. He was abused heavily by him, which explains why M stayed. M hated being with our mother also, but at least he wasn't abused. First week was fine, normal junkies. Spending time with M was fun. We even made a new friend, at the time named Chad. Chad was another one of her junkie friends, but he was friendly and also a transgender. He was an MTF, but would prefer the pronouns he and his until he was fully transitioned into a female. It was fun having him to talk to. I learned a lot about transgenders at a young age, which gave me a real understanding about them. I'm grateful for that. He stayed with us the entire time I was there. The second week arrives. It was on Monday or Tuesday night. The normal junkies come about. Time passes. My mom comes running to me and shoves her purse in my face. "Hide this under your blanket," she says quickly. I oblige and then listen to her confused. She sits on the couch beside me like she's waiting for something to arrive anxiously. Feeling her vibe of anxiety and worrisome, I began worrying too. What was going to happen? I was so confused. Then there it is. That fucking distinctive bang I heard. It's like whenever he knocked, he wanted to whoever it was to know that he was here and to not wait around to answering the door to him. It was so loud and obnoxious. Not too long after the bang, my mom rushes up and opens the door. Guess who it is? Yep, the fucking creep. Now, from the time I first encountered him, I didn't look too different. Only thing that was changed about me was my hairstyle. I didn't have bangs anymore, but all my prominent features were still visibly the same. Fuck. I wanted to run out of the apartment as fast as I could, just get away from everything and find the nearest hotel, just live on my own at this point. I thought my mom would have got rid of this man, but she still kept this fuckhead around my sister and in her life while I was gone. I was not expecting to see him at all. He walks in, followed by a few clearly drugged out females behind him. My mom walks them back into her room and shuts the door. I'm sitting here, M's on the floor, messing around on his new iPhone 4, clearly just fidgeting on it so he wouldn't make contact with the creep. My little sister beside me, and Chad on the other side of the couch. The entire setting of this room became bleak with anxiety. We all hated this guy. Beforehand, maybe the first few days of me being there, Em told me stories about how he'd come over and ask about me, and how he tried robbing my mom a few times by getting into her purse when he thought our mom wasn't paying attention. Explains why she shoved the purse in my face and told me to hide it. Time passes. They're still in the room. It seemed like they were in there forever, until we heard the doorknob turn, then here walks out the two female druggies. Inside the room still were my mom, the creep, and her boyfriend. I like to mention the only room in the apartment was my sister's. She had all her clothes and toys inside of it. She didn't have much, but it was enough for her at the time. So the only place to hang out was in the living room, where we all were. One of the druggies sits beside Chad on the other couch and begins conversing with us. I can't remember what about. Probably was something ignorant or uninteresting. But it was clear she was only out here for something. The other woman is standing across from us, near the bathroom, as if she's scoping around the area for something. 10 minutes pass, and my sister wants to get under the blanket with me. Of course, I let her, but then in the process of her getting covered, the purse barely shows, but it showed just enough for it to be seen that it was a purse. I quickly try to cover it up and look around to see if one of the addicts noticed it. Sure enough, the girl across the bathroom was directly looking at me. She looked at the other addict and did some sort of eye signal, and the other sitting on the couch bounces up and says, "Well, it was nice talking to you guys," and walks back into my mom's room with the other girl. Weird as fuck. Naturally, we all began talking about it, about how weird they were, but not directly talking about it, just gave the motions, like how friends would silently talk about someone near them. That kind of talk. Even more time passes, and they finally come out of the room. My mother's boyfriend remains in the room. He wasn't very sociable, but at the time, now that I think about it, he was probably high out of his mind. Chad ends up leaving around this time, which gives the couch enough room for the creep, the two girls, and my mother. They sit for a while. The creep barely notices me this entire time he was sitting there. Didn't even try to make contact with me, until my mother went outside with the two girls, for God knows what. I still don't know why she did that. Would it have something to do with the girls wanting her outside, to smoke with them? I don't know, but all I know is she was gone for a long time with them. Then it's like this guy flipped a switch in his mind. He looked directly at me and my sister. Remember that iPod 4 I mentioned in my first story? I always had it out in my head, which gives this guy a chance to come over to me with intent of conversation. He scoots closer to my sister and I and asks me, "Is that a phone? Can I use it?" "No." "Please?" "Dude, I said no." Em notices this and says, "That's an iPod. I have an iPhone right here if you want to come and use it." The creep denies his offer and explains that he'll just use our mom's phone whenever she comes back. Typical, just like the store offer he mentioned before to me. He keeps staring at me as if trying to figure out who I am, but still had this unsure look on his face. I think he just shrugged it off at some point in time, and then gets up and goes to the bathroom. Fuck, why did you do that, Em? Creep then quickly gets up, walks in front of me, gets on his knees, and tries to reach his hand under the blanket like he's being some sort of undercover ninja, except it was right in my face. I knew he wanted the purse. He kept trying to tug at it, and I kept tugging back. I didn't want to yell at him to get away, or anything like that. I didn't want to scare my sister. I didn't want her thinking she was in danger. I just kept playing tug-of-war with this man until he let out a laugh and said, "Hey, I remember you. You're, my mom's name, Pretty Daughter. You developed well, sweet baby." His breath smelt of cigarettes, and he smelt of spoiled milk and ran over skunk. He was disgusting. Me, still keeping my cool, said nothing, just waiting for M to come back from the bathroom. The creep gets up off his knees, walks back over to the couch, plops down, then whispers, "I'll get something soon." M finally walks out, sits back down to where he was, and starts back on his phone. At this point, my heart is beating fast. I wanted to cry. I wanted to tell M what happened so he beat his ass again. But all at the same time, I wanted my sister to feel safe for once in her life. I wanted to be mature for her to be okay. I didn't want her witnessing more violence than she already had. I sucked it up and tried to move on from it, but his presence angered me. I was uneasy the entire time my mother finally decided to walk back in. Without the girls. It was as if the girls were only there to be an easy way to figure out where my mom's purse was. Cool, they tried to steal her purse. My mom ended up taking her purse into her room before bed. Time passes, everyone is passed out, including Creep Face on the fucking couch beside me. My sister went into my mother and her boyfriend's room to fall asleep, and M was still on the floor. I was wide awake until around 3 a.m. I tried staying awake, I just couldn't. I passed out. I'd like to take this time to mention I was wearing a tank top. I'd always put my iPod inside of my tank top into my bra to hide my iPod from anyone trying to steal it. I was always made sure that I had put it in there. I double-checked multiple times to make sure I did put it in there. When I awoke, I was up before everyone else. I frantically looked around for the creep. He was still there on the couch. I noticed something in his pocket. What the fuck? It couldn't be. Are you shitting me? When the hell did he take this? And it was M's brand new iPhone 4. The top was sticking out of his pocket. I couldn't just let him take it. I wanted to do something for him like he did for me that one day. I silently and quickly got up from the couch and sneaked my way over to where he was. I knew he'd started Xanax, and once you're out from Xanax, you're out. This is why I thought I would be able to get away with taking it back, which was successful. It slid out from his pocket, and I ran over to M, gently shaking him, telling him what I found in his pocket. But sadly, with M, when he's out too. He just took the phone, thanked me, and passed right out again. And this is where I noticed something too. My iPod was gone. Yes, the iPod I put in my fucking bra is gone. I patted myself viciously, holding back from tears, hoping this man didn't go into my bra while I was sleeping to take my iPod. After a few minutes of me freaking out, trying to find it, there's a knock at the door, then it opens. It was Chad, thank God. The door was apparently unlocked due to him letting himself in. I explained to Chad what I found in his pocket, and that I couldn't find my iPod now. Choking back tears, just the thought of his hands being anywhere near my body made me sick to my stomach. Chad and I lifted the couch, lifted the cushions, we did everything. He looked in the bathroom, my sister's room, everywhere. Nowhere to be found. This is where I freaked batshit. I marched my ass into my mom's room, explaining once again what happened, crying in tears. She wakes up, sits there a while, trying to recollect her thoughts about what happened, and how he could have touched me in a way a 13-year-old should not be touched. She then awakes her boyfriend, which causes my little sister to wake up too. So we're all awake, sitting there, thinking about how this creep, who could have possibly touched me, and stole my iPod in the process. My mom walks out there, waking this man up, practically shaking him awake. He wakes up, she confronts him, asking him, "Where is her iPod?" He denies it. Then she brings up how I found M's iPhone in his pocket. He also denies it. My mom freaks out on him, telling him to get the fuck out. This is where the creep freaks out back on her. Fuck that little girl. She's just a whore anyways. In her tank top, sleeping. She deserves everything that happens to her. M finally wakes up after him yelling. My mom's boyfriend also rushes out into the living room, thinking this creep is going to put hands on our mom. I was their bedroom with my little sister, trying to keep her mind off everything, trying to make sure she's not scared, just being there for her, holding her so she doesn't break out in tears. This is where my mom's boyfriend and M chased the man out of the fucking door. I didn't see it, but apparently on the way down the stairs, he spit at M's face, and my mom's boyfriend jumped on him, kinda like M did in the first time, and beat the living shit out of this guy, and ended him running him off, or so we thought. Time passes. We lock the door, and we're all just hanging out, talking about what could have happened to my iPod, and how disgusting this whole ordeal was. My mom apologized for letting him even stay in the same room as me. Just everything was crazy, but shit turns crazier. The creep returns, but he doesn't return alone. The way my mother's bedroom is set up, you can see right out into the living room. The living room has 2 big glass windows where you can see out to who is walking towards your door or just walking down to the apartment. She notices him, and she notices how he's trying to break through the window. She quickly tells my sister and I to run into the closet and hide. My sister is in hysterics at this point, and I'm trying to control her, telling her to be quiet, just in case he actually breaks in. My mom whispers, "He has a gun, be quiet." Another whisper, "He's trying to come in with his gun. He's pointing his gun at me. Guys, please be quiet." Then silence. Then there's that iconic bang at the door and yelling, so much yelling. All I could make out was, "Next time I'm going to come prepared and I'll kill every last one of you and make your little girl my drug mule." Then silence. My mom's sobbing silently, which seems like forever. My mom finally says for us to come out. She couldn't call the police. If she did, she'd jeopardize herself, being a drug dealer and all. This is where she cut him off completely. Thank God. This is the last encounter I've ever had with this man. May wherever he be more terrible than the depths of hell itself. Fuck you. This is Sharky with sharkgoeschomp. I hope that you enjoyed this story. Please subscribe for more stories. Have a good night.